My editing workstation of 8 years is now a brick. So I'm building a new one. This is going to be my first go of it, and if I sound even remotely knowledgeable through any of this video, it's only because I've watched a couple dozen hours of professionals constructing PCs, which I highly recommend you do yourself. The one video I really couldn't find out there is someone like me, someone attempting for their first time to build a PC. The first thing I did is I went to PCPartsPicker.com, and what this website allows you to do is it guides you through the process and notifies you if any of the components are incompatible. So you start by picking your CPU. Well, so you're gonna make a decision between AMD and Intel. I went with an AMD Ryzen 3900, and from there it just prompted me to pick a motherboard. Of course, it would let me know if something was incompatible. Then go on to pick a cooler, whether you're gonna go with a fan. I went with a liquid cooling system, and so on and so forth until your PC is complete. Now, PC Parts Picker, what it does is it doesn't actually ship you the components. What it does is it links you to various vendors who do. So you're not going to be doing a single transaction for every part that's going to be going into your case. I think 5 or 6 of them were from Amazon, so that was kind of convenient because I had Amazon Prime. A couple came from Newegg, a couple came from B&H. So from the time of placing the order for all of my components, I just went on YouTube, watched a ton of videos, learned as much as I possibly could so that I felt reasonably confident going into this thing. I mentioned my former PC being completely bricked, and that's no joke, it wouldn't even start up. So it was completely useless to me, but it had a lot of drives in it, and I wanted those drives. So I thought it was kind of a cool idea to start taking apart my old PC in the interest of not only getting the drives, but learning my way around. One of the things I was a little bit nervous about was actually installing the CPU. Spoiler alert, super simple. But I just pulled the CPU out of my old computer, put it in a couple times. Anyway, got the drives. I took the optical drive out of my old computer, and I even took out the SD card reader that was in the old computer, thinking that I might be able to connect it to the new one. Unfortunately, that part was simply too old and incompatible with a modern motherboard. All right, so we've got our motherboard, got the CPU, and the CPU shipped with a fan. Now, I'm not actually going to be installing the fan. I just brought it out to show you guys what it looks like. I went with a water cooling system for this CPU, which if you do plan on overclocking your CPU, you're going to want to go with the liquid system instead. So here's the first thing that confused me. I had, usually in the videos I've been watching, there's actually a plastic cover right here that when you loosen this part up in order to put the CPU on, when you put this back down, that black cover would pop off. So I guess that's okay, but the important thing I know with this is you have to find a little triangle, and there is one here that says CPU corner. I don't know if you guys can see on the CPU itself, but this has a little arrow right here. Definitely don't touch these gold parts. You just want to gently put this down. And then we're going to, whoops, put that into place. So, I'm getting ready to install the water cooler for the CPU. It's gonna have me screwing a couple of fans onto the back side of it right here. But then I need to figure out a place to mount this. And on my previous computer, it was in the back. And that doesn't look very practical right now. So I'm assuming it's gonna have to go up and, to get the air to come out. So right now I'm just experimenting with seeing if this comes off. And I've noticed that there's 4 screws up here, so I'm just gonna unscrew these and see if this is even a possibility. Okay, so we figured out the top is something that could just pop off. They didn't have to unscrew all that stuff, but in going back and some of the other videos I was watching, I think this is actually now the point to put the motherboard in rather than worry about the water cooler as of yet. I wanna make sure that the motherboard is actually in there, nothing else is in the way when I try to put it in. So the case came with accessories and a list of accessories and what goes to what. So I'm making a guess. There are actually 2 that say motherboard. One of them has a quantity of 23 screws. This particular case came with these little spaced out things. So what this is going to do is provide a gap between the motherboard and the metal backing of the case. So there you have it, guys. My first PC build experience. Overall, I learned a lot. Was it 100% smooth? No. I did run into a little hiccup when I was trying to install the cooler's radiator to the roof of the case. It wasn't so much that it was difficult. I understood the engineering, I understood how things were supposed to go together. It was just, in my opinion, kind of a silly build. The way that the screw could barely get into the radiator, we struggled with that, but eventually got it done. So moving forward, I will always build my PCs. No more am I going to buy pre-constructed bargain PCs. I'm going to go ahead and build my own moving forward. And I'm going to do it every couple of years instead of waiting 8 years for one to just brick out on me. My last little advice for anybody who's going to be embarking on this for their first time is after the PC is constructed, you're definitely going to want to get on YouTube and search for what to do once your PC build is complete. Because it's definitely not over there. We've got to install the operating system, right? Got to get all the drivers installed. A ton of Windows updates need to be done. And then of course you're just going to want to download some other apps to help monitor your PC so you can keep an eye on how things are going. CPU and GPU temps, those types of things. Anyway, hope you found this video helpful. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you next time.